Hello and welcome to my long-awaited YouTube channel. It's me, Abs. You might recognize me from SDS or Twitter or all these social media apps you might see me on. It's about time I had a YouTube channel. Now, what is this YouTube channel dedicated to? A dedicated Manchester United YouTube channel. Entertainment, information, all about Manchester United, the club I love. You guys know how much I love this football team. And the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the dawn of a new era of Manchester United. The men responsible for bringing United back to glory. Who am I referring to? Who do I mean when I say a new dawn of Manchester United and the men responsible for bringing United back to glory? As we all know, there has been a takeover in the previous year from the Glazers' ownership. Now, what did the Glazers' ownership do? Listen, they took over in Man United's successful period, and Sir Alex Ferguson and the CEO at the time, David Gill, worked together to just be the main heartbeat of the club. But the Glazers, after those two figures left, began to just let the club fester and rot. That was just the reality of the situation. And there were two major bidders for Manchester United, which was the Qatari royal family in Sheikh Jassim, and we had Ineos with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Now, we can't lie. The general consensus that I felt from the Twitter fan base of Manchester United was, let's get the Qataris in because they want to do a 100% ownership takeover. We were then left with obviously Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos taking over, and the job that they have done has been stellar so far. United fans are getting excited, and a lot of rival fans aren't happy because, like, what are you getting excited for? You're only doing things that clubs have been doing forever. Yeah, we've only just caught up. Now, let's introduce these important members of Ineos. I'm not going to talk about everyone. Let's talk about the important people. So Jim, a lifelong Manchester United fan, whose dream always was to take over a football club. We can't deny he did try to take over Chelsea and had a Chelsea season ticket. But he is a Manchester United fan, and he is the man who's steering the ship of Ineos. Working together at the board level with Sir David Brailsworth, who, if we just go back in time, there was a young Abs years ago who wanted, obviously, you know, these self-help development phases that you might go through in life. I read a book called Atomic Habits by Mr. James Clear, and it spoke about marginal gains, and we spoke about the GB cycling team and the small differences they made to become the success that they became.
What?
And the person who was behind that marginal gains theory was Sir David Brailsworth, who, as you see, there are small tweaks being made at Manchester United. There's obviously £50 million that's been invested into the training facilities. There's small differences in negotiations. Manchester United might not allow other clubs to take them for a walk, because you cannot allow people to take small wins against you, because that just means the vibe means someone can take the piss out of you, basically. We move on. Jean-Claude Blanc, a man very well known for, after Juventus' scandals and financial issues they were in, he made them one of the most successful Italian teams of all time. And Juventus are known to be one of the biggest Italian clubs ever now. And we have to look at him and the finances that he did with them. Then went to PSG and made PSG a global brand with all the different kit deals that you saw them do. We move on to now the footballing side of things. Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada. Those are the two names I want to talk about quickly. Omar Barada was the chief operating officer at the City Football Group. And that coup, when it happened, was seen as a seismic coup from Manchester United to take one of City's main people away from them. Now, anyone who watched that documentary, the City documentary, the Amazon All or Nothing, we saw that he was there speaking with Cheeky Bergestan about the wages and not allowing players to stay over 2 years if they're not performing well. These kind of standards that have been set now for the future of Manchester United bodes well in terms of the financial side of things. We look at Dan Ashworth, someone that Newcastle, it felt like they would never allow him to join Manchester United. Dan Ashworth has obviously been involved in Brighton, he's been involved in the FA, and obviously been involved in Newcastle. All of those projects, he was an overseer on the footballing side of things. Them two are working closely with Jason Wilcox, who also worked in the academy of City in the past and also was a director at Southampton. Now, all of these names you might be thinking, well, this is Ineos, but does it matter if they don't have their manager? And what they decided in the summer was profound. It was a bit of a headline. Erik ten Hag, after having a very, very tough season last year, which was riddled with injuries and underperformance in Manchester United's worst finish in Premier League history, they were able to win the FA Cup final, and it felt like the tide was turning for Ten Hag. It's almost crazy how one game can change anything for a manager. But the players were behind him, the fans were behind him, and Ineos eventually, after maybe interviewing other candidates, decided Ten Hag was the man. The future of Manchester United looks as such. They have taken out the previous assistant managers in Benny McCarthy and Mitchell van der Gaag, and now they have Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rene Hacker. These are two people who turned down first team roles. Rene Hacker was the manager of Go Ahead Eagles. He came to become Manchester United assistant manager. That one kind of makes sense. Ruud van Nistelrooy, after a great season with PSV where they won the cup, I believe, what he ended up doing is saying no to the Burnley job, which was a good job for a manager. You take that job in most cases, but he decided to become the assistant manager at Manchester United. A legend, a cult hero at Manchester United, who has a bit of, that star power about him, but is also a very, very well-rounded coach. These are the men that are tasked with bringing Manchester United back to the glory days. I, for one, as a fan, after years of horrible ownership, am looking forward to what the future holds for Manchester United. In the first summer window of this new ownership and this new era, Manchester United have signed Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna, who was the Young Player of the Year winner of the Serie A. He's the one, Serie A's Young Player of the Year. And they signed another very sought-after young talent in Lenny Yoro. Now, these two signings are signings for the future. Both relatively young football players who have the rest of the prime of their career way ahead of them in Lenny Yoro's case and Zirkzee's case. So why did they sign these two players? Rasmus Højlund was obviously signed by Manchester United in the previous summer window. Maybe Erik ten Hag wants a different dynamic. We've known he's always been a manager that favours a focal point in attack, whether that be Dusan Tadic, whether it's Sebastian Haller or other examples. He's always liked a focal point in an attack, and Joshua Zirkzee stands at 6'4" in frame, taller than Højlund. He's someone who's shown us great ability with the ball at his feet in Bologna. So listen, it bodes well. Now we look at Lenny Yoro, one of the most sought after talents in the whole of the transfer window. Madrid in form, Liverpool, Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester United all wanted this kid. And why? Because of the potential that he holds, what he could become. When you're signing an 18-year-old, you're not signing him to fit in straight away. Although we saw him in his first game, and I know it's pre-season, but he looked very, very calm at the back. What we are signing him for is the next 10, 15 years of potential. And that's exactly what I expect from Lenny Yoro. And that's how I understand that signing to work out. It's an interesting because Ten Hag has come out with quotes where he said, a lot of responsibility has been taken away from me. And I think that's not a bad thing, because when you think about a club the size of Manchester United, they shouldn't be signing players just for a manager. They should be signing it for a general game model. And this is something that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has alluded to, something that Dan Ashworth has alluded to as well. We are signing players for a game model. Manchester United should have a certain identity that is clear for the club. And the managers that are brought in must adapt to that identity. And the signings that come in also must fit that identity. And that is where I see the future of Manchester United signings in the future windows to come. And in this window, that's how I see them going. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, there's many more where that's coming from. So make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell me what kind of videos you want to see. What kind of perspectives are you expecting from me? What kind of stuff about Manchester United you want me to talk about? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see all of you guys next time.